So hello guys, what's up and welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's me, your girl barrister Neze, and this is Nezeville. Today's story is a rather touchy one, so sensitive that I hesitated rushing to make a video until I got some facts and understanding about the case. Worse is that a life is lost, families are grieving, and before we take lessons from the story, which of course remains the core of our videos, it's good that we're not carried away with headline reporting and social media sensations, but address this incident factually and rationally. 36-year-old Dr. IKENNE Eriniene is a Nigerian medical practitioner based in the United States. Oops. Sadly, I should have used was. He was not just a medical practitioner, he was a specialist who majored in cardiology. IKENNE was that guy. Looks, check. Intelligence, check. I do not even need to emphasize to you guys the level of IQ and intelligence that a 30-year-old, a 30-plus-year-old will have to enable him to be a cardiologist in the US. His friends and colleagues had nothing but amazing things to say about him. Tobechukwu, one of his colleagues, took to Facebook to say this: "To the one with the warmest smile, highly infectious laughter, and the greatest sense of humor, to the most charming, unproblematic, humble, affectionate, intelligent, and easygoing doctor," in brackets cardiologist. That was the persona that IKENNE had with his friends and colleagues, and the encomiums couldn't stop pouring, highlighting IKENNE's wit and charm at the workplace. There in the US, IKENNE met Suzette Chibogu Van Laar. Contrary to earlier reports, to the narrative suggesting that Suzette Chibogu was an imported wife. Imported is a slang used for women who were back in Nigeria and were brought abroad by their husbands. Contrary to that claim, Suzette was born and bred in the US. She is also in the medical field and she holds a Doctor of Medical Science degree. Perhaps Chibogu, I'm going to interchange Chibogu and Suzette. Perhaps Chibogu and IKENNE met in the line of carrying out their professional duties, both of them being in the medical field. They fell for each other and decided to take their relationship to the next level. By mid-2020, wedding cards fixing their traditional wedding for the 22nd of May 2020 and their white wedding for the 24th of the same month had already been distributed to friends and family. Both ceremonies were to be conducted there in Georgia, US, and I bet that the both parties were elated, looking forward to their big day. Now, there are some rumors circulating suggesting that these ceremonies did not take place and that the wedding was called off. I have searched and there are no evidences to substantiate that claim, and in the absence of that, I will stick to narrating this story from the natural flow of things that comes after a wedding announcement. But however we choose to look at it, whether dating and never got married or married, their relationship led to the birth of 2 children, one of which unfortunately is a special needs child, permanently disabled, as Chibogu described her son. His disability was so severe that he had to go for therapy 40 hours every week. And of course, he needed higher medical and physical attention. IKENNE and Chibogu did not reside at the same state during the course of their union. They were both young, intelligent, intellectual, and career-driven individuals who were both pursuing their respective dreams and goals. And well, we assumed it worked until in 2023, just 3 years after this wedding invitation, Chibogu filed a domestic violence report against IKENNE. She alleged that within their short years of being together, IKENNE assaulted her. He put his hands on her. Details of this case, which I have become privy to, states: court system, the circuit courts for Howard County civil system, Case type, domestic violence. Filing date, the 25th of August 2023. Defendant's name, Erinne IKENNA. Results. The court orders. 1. Shall not abuse. So the defendant has been given an order not to abuse the complainant. 2. Shall not contact. 3. Shall not enter residence. 4. Shall stay away from school. And 5. Shall stay away from child care providers. And when I saw this, I was like, why? Why in the world? Why these court orders? Why should a court restrain a father from his own child? I don't like that. If you know one of the principles that I stand very firm by, I am always pro let the daddies in the lives of their children. Now your husband fights, the man no fighting begin. I'm always pro these men have a role to play in the lives of these children that we cannot typically play. I always stand by, regardless of the feud you have with your husband or your ex-husband, do not punish the man with his kids, because in doing so, you are punishing your kids as well. Your hurt, betrayal, and frustration is personal to you. Don't drag the kids into your mess. It is always in the best interest of the children to have a relationship with both parents. So, I was concerned as to why the court is giving restrictions, not just to the woman, but to the children as well. Let me tell you something, for those that care for knowledge. Contrary to the demonstration of the Western legal system as evil when it comes to family law, either by people who are already accustomed to reckless excessiveness or by people who have never crossed Badagry to Cotonou before, I'll tell you a little about the Western legal system as it pertains to family law and marriage. The aim of the legal system in the West is not to destroy or erode family structure. No, far from that. Contradictingly, it even seeks to preserve it, but never at the expense of life, safety, and security. Why it looks like it is tearing down family structure, it is destroying family values, why it looks like that to many of us from Africa is because our own system first seeks the preservation of marriage and the preservation of family values at the expense of life, at the expense of well-being, at the expense of safety. So the conservation of family back home ranks superior to the conservation and the preservation of life. So for example, when a person is beaten and wounded and injured and maltreated and dehumanized by their spouse, the objective is to settle, to cover it, to go back. But in this case, in the West, the first impulse of the law is to what? Preserve the person. Life before relationship. The legal system does not particularly derive pleasure in tearing families apart or tearing children from their fathers or mothers. But it will become a necessary evil if the life, well-being, safety, sanity, and security of that child is in jeopardy. So typically, you would find this kind of court orders in instances where that man or woman, as the case may be, is not gender-based, has been accused or convicted of domestic violence. And it's not just verbal, he did this. There's a process, there's a legal system. So don't let anybody deceive you. There has to be proof, there has to be police reports, there has to be witness accounts, as the case may be. It is an allegation. It should be proved. It should be substantiated. So, another reason why the court may give such an order, telling a father to stay away from his children: child neglect or abuse, sexual abuse, threat or harassment, substance abuse issues, mental health concerns, violation of existing court orders, and the list goes on. But the courts will never, ever just stop a man from being a part of his children's lives because the wife does not like him anymore. The wife does not want him to come to her because they are going through divorce and the wife does not like his face anymore. If it's just that, the court would separate you guys, right? But we'll still give a workable order, an instruction, an arrangement to co-parents. One person does not have exclusive right of a child over the other. One person does not have a right to cut off a parent from the child or children. If that was the case, this heated, toxic divorce between Cora and Justin will not be seeing those children. No. If it was just she's a woman, you block the man. No, but today, Justin still has rights to those children. The children still stay with him sometimes, despite the heated, hateful divorce going on between him and Cora. The court does not give a damn about how you feel for that man. The court will put the interest of the children first, as long as there is no risk to those children. So where the court starts giving orders to stay clear, stay away, believe me, there is always a reason. Unfortunately, headline news consumers and people who are ignorant of the way the law works just takes a headline story and runs with it. Why do we hate reading? We are so averse to reading and researching as a people. So we are always consumed with false information and stereotypical narratives. So Ikenna and Chibogu became estranged. And when couples with children become separated or divorced, one of the major decisions, one of the major things that the court has to rule on is the question of who gets to keep the kids. It's the question of who takes custody of the children. So child custody in America and in Georgia, where the parties resided, can be divided into two main categories. First, the legal custody of the child, and secondly, the physical custody of the child. Legal custody of a child connotes that the child does not primarily live with you. All right? The child is not under your physical custody, but you still retain legal rights, the rights of making decisions on that child or children as the case may be. Major decisions, which includes decisions about that child's education, about their health care, about their religion, about their extracurricular activities, despite that child is residing physically with his or her mother or father. You still retain the right to make or join in making major decisions. While physical custody, as the name expressly infers, refers to a situation whereby that parent has physical custody of the child. So the child lives with that parent primarily. And for physical custody, it can either be sole or joint. Joint physical custody means that the child spends an appreciable amount of time, a significant amount of time with both parents. It doesn't have to be 50-50. It doesn't have to be rationalized 50-50 on a scale. You weigh it 50-50. This hour, put this minute here, let it be 50-50. No, but it's almost equal. So there has to be significant amount of time being spent with this parent and that parent. And sole custody is mostly a situation whereby the child is primarily resident with one parent. So one parent has primary custody while the other would have maybe visitation rights. Standard visitation rights can be maybe weekends. You live with mommy or you live with daddy Monday to Friday, then the other parent has the child for the weekend. It could be holidays, it could be summer breaks or Christmas holidays, but there is a right to visit and come back to that primary custodian. Those visitation rights could also be supervised, where the court has concern about the child's safety. The court can issue visitation rights, but give a mandate that it should be supervised. So you can see that even in situations that look one kind, that doesn't look ideal, the court will still typically give visitation rights. Rather than that child being taken away completely from his other parents, the court would order, sit the child, have a relationship with the child, but it has to be supervised because there is risk of danger. And of course, there is a third type, which is the no visitation at all, which is unusual and typically applied in extreme situations. Remember, I told you guys that the court's intention or the law's intention is not to punish the man because his wife is divorcing him, or punish the mother because her husband is divorcing her. No, the court would always seek the interest of the child. That is the paramount determining factor. regardless of gender. Just a few weeks ago, we narrated the story of James Salt Marshall, the young dad that was accused of killing his baby. Remember I told you in that case that despite he is black and he is the man, he's the one that got custody of his daughter, a 1-year-old baby, as against the baby's mother. Why? Because the mother was already convicted of child abuse. So if you have that history or dent on your name, on your file, regardless of gender, man, woman, dog or cat, you will not get the child. So let us please stop spreading senseless and baseless information, saying that abroad does the woman have power? Once the woman divorces you, she will take your property, take your money, take your children, throw you out, destroy you. Let us stop scaring our young aspiring odogus with falsehood. Please share in the comment section from wherever you're watching, especially those in other countries outside Africa, Europe, Asia, America, wherever you may be watching from. Please share what it is like in your jurisdiction down in the comment section. Is it as I am saying it, or does the law in your place just stop fathers from being with their children for no reason, just because their mothers are no longer interested in the marriage? Please share down in the comment section. So now in this case, for who knows the exact reason, maybe it is because of the domestic violence reports. Because SENA clients take domestic violence very seriously. But way back home, we don't take it seriously until the person dies. That's the only time that we now make a case out of it. Until the person dies. It's not like back home where a man or a father will be beating his wife and the children will be around him crying, begging him, daddy, please, daddy, stop. Damaging that child. Tomorrow, that man now, that boy, that child that watched his father pummeling his mother like an animal will grow up and think that it's a normal thing to beat his wife, and will continue the tradition and start beating his wife. Or a daughter that stood there witnessing that kind of thing will now believe that it's okay to be married to a man that would beat her because of this. But in developed countries, they know the psychological trauma and effects of having children in that space where the woman is beating the husband or the husband is beating the wife. So despite that person in question didn't directly hit that child, the court and the law would assume that person unfit. Because if you look at it, it's almost a mental problem where a man can take his wife and be punching her in the face and he's seeing blood coming out and the children are there screaming and terrified, and it still didn't stop him. He is punching his wife like an animal. Is that person really normal? I'm not saying that is what Dr. IKENNA did. I am telling you, speaking generally, do not ever misquote me, please. I am saying generally that domestic violence is one of the reasons why the courts will not grant custody to a father or a mother. And I am explaining further how the system sees people that perpetrate domestic violence on others. It is not seen as normal family matter, go and settle, because they know that the ripple effect is always disastrous. So they nip it in the bud. So as expected, the mother got custody. The children are still very young, and one of them is special needs, permanently disabled. So custody, except proven otherwise, will be given to the mother in this circumstance. But why the father was not given visitation rights is now where my guess is as good as yours. I listed the options, the things that could make the courts deny visitation rights to a partner. But in this case, it could be maybe the domestic violence claim, or could be anybody's guess. And of course, he was ordered to pay child support. And it was on this part that we encountered major fury and controversy.